First at 9.
Coming to you live and direct from the News First Centre here in Colombo. This is MTV Primetime News. I'm Ramesh Rugal Bandara.
And I'm Shanali Silva. As always, let's start off with a look at your headlines.
Headlines on News First at 9.
The judgment of the leadership of the country is better left for the people of Sri Lanka to decide than being caricatured by external entities. A response from the government to Navanithan Pillai. The JVP remarks on UN Human Rights Chief Navanithan Pillai. Three people killed in an accident on the Randenigala Mahayangana road. Syria's Assad says he is ready to confront any intervention.
News First at 9.
On our top story tonight, President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that he will not bow down to internal or external conspirators.
The President made this statement addressing the 62nd convention of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
The event to mark the 62nd anniversary of the SLFP was held at Maligapitiya in Kurunegala. Political representatives and others arrived in procession to participate in the event.
ඒ වගේම තමයි එහෙම ලියලා ඉන්න කාලේ තමයි අපේ ජේ.ආර්. එදා ලොක්කා මැතිවරණ සිටියම අකුල ගත්තේ.
J.R. Jayawardena at one point folded the election map and stopped all elections. He called for resignation letters. I have not accepted resignation letters from anyone. I have said that our party is like a saloon. You can go and come as you please. This is our party. They are preaching democracy to us. We must state it correctly. People who can't get things done are attempting to label us. What can I do if the leader of the UNP cannot get things done? They are now trying to get rid of me. Even if they get rid of me, I can clearly say that they will not be able to take the people of this country away from the SLFP.
මේ රටේ ජනතාව ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයෙන් අයින් කරන්න බැරිය කියන එක අපි පැහැදිලිව කියනවා.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party is celebrating its 62nd anniversary in Kurunegala today.
Let's take a brief look back at the history of the SLFP.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party was founded by SWRD Bandaranaike with the assistance of D.A. Rajapaksa on the 2nd of September 1951, uniting the five forces of Sangha, Veda, Guru, Govi and Kamkaru. After about a year's time, the SLFP became the main opposition party. In 1956, this party formed the Mahajana Eksat Peramuna along with a few other political parties. The party moved forward towards success and Bandaranaike was appointed the Prime Minister. A challenge was posed to the future of the party by the sudden assassination of SWRD Bandaranaike. Sirimavu Bandaranaike then came forward to take the responsibility of taking the party forward. She uplifted the party once again by providing it the honour of producing the first female Prime Minister in the world. During the years 1960, 65, 1970 and 1977, the party moved forward by becoming either the governing party or the main opposition party. Giving a new life to the party, which faced a number of challenges in 1977, the daughter of the two Bandaranaike Prime Ministers, Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, became president in 1994. A new era began within the Sri Lanka Freedom Party after Mahinda Rajapaksa was elected as the president of the country in 2005. 61 years after its foundation, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party now holds a two-thirds majority in parliament and is facing up to the challenge of making Sri Lanka the miracle of Asia.
The Government Information Department issuing a press release notes that the judgment of the leadership of the country is better left for the people of Sri Lanka to decide than being caricatured by external entities influenced by Western interests.
The release was issued in response to the opening remarks delivered by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Navanithan Pillai during her press conference on the 31st of August.
The release issued by the Government Information Department notes that the Sri Lankan government provided unfettered access to the UN Human Rights High Commissioner to meet with anyone whom she wanted to engage with, adding that the government also provided briefings on the continuing post-conflict development projects. It goes on to note that the High Commissioner acknowledged the true nature of the LTTE and had stated that there should not be any glorification of such a ruthless organization. Addressing the concerns raised by Pillai on the new Ministry of Law and Order, the Government Information Department notes that the President derives his position as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces by the provisions of the Constitution, and that this ministry has been brought under his purview in the same manner in which other civilian establishments such as the Ministry of Finance were brought under his purview. The release adds that it is inappropriate for the High Commissioner to propose the assignment of cabinet portfolios of a sovereign nation. The media release issued by the Government Information adds that Pillai's statement that the country, quote, is showing signs of heading in an increasingly authoritarian direction, unquote, clearly transgresses a mandate and the basic norms which should be observed by a discerning international servant. It adds that the judgment of the leadership of the country is better left for the people of Sri Lanka to decide than being caricatured by external entities influenced by vested interests.
Meanwhile, views were expressed on Navi Pillai's visit to Sri Lanka during a media briefing organized by the JVP.
ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශයෙන් පොලිසිය ඉවත් කළ යුතුයි පොලිසිය සිවිල් අමාත්‍යාංශයක් තුල තැබිය යුතුයි කියන
The LLRC report recommends that the police be removed from the Ministry of Defence and converted into a civil institution. The government wanted to show that they are implementing recommendations of the LLRC during Navi Pillai's visit to Sri Lanka. However, what they did was a hoax. They said they are separating the military and the police and created a new ministry and named it the Ministry of Law and Order. It was said that this was created to ensure that the police are not influenced by the army leadership and to make it a truly civil institute. However, the decision itself puts the police under the army. After Pillai's tour commenced, 6 military camps were removed. Because of this, the Tamil people begin to think that they received these rights due to Pillai. That credit will go to her. If the government took this decision when the people asked for it, then at least the credit will go to the government. The government acted in a dubious manner during the entire visit undertaken by Navi Pillai. This did not do any good for the country. Pillai was not stopped. She was allowed to walk everywhere. Her report was not stopped. The only thing that changed is that some things got added to the report. That is only because of the government's behavior. It was the government that set up the ball for Navi Pillai to play a dash. On a related note, let's now take a look at some of the views expressed on the election front.
Navanithan Pillai came here in the recent past. We are very happy that Navanithan Pillai came here, went to the north and the east and met everybody instead of looking at us from the outside with doubt and mistrust. We are looking forward to her future decision. We are looking forward to it not as the government but as the future generation of this country. We look forward to a positive response, a positive decision and a positive report from her. When one of our ministers brought forward a marriage proposal, they said it was not good. They said that when one of our ministers makes a marriage proposal, it is disrespectful to the country. These are the big issues for our opposition. Recently, 2 dogs got married and that became a huge issue for them. Even I received several phone calls where people asked me what I thought of the dog's marriage. Today, the opposition has a major issue regarding this as well. They have no understanding of what is going on in the country and in society today. Recently, Madam Pillai came here. She came here for something else and left all of a sudden. This is because Mervyn Silva proposed to marry her. They didn't even consider his age. Perhaps they thought they should get married since the dogs are getting married too. So Madam Pillai would have thought these cabinet ministers are trying to marry her while there is child abuse and rape taking place all over the country. And so she fled the country. Earlier, it cost 1,000 rupees to get married. Now it costs 5,000 rupees. There are things that are certain in our lives. When we are born, it costs 300 rupees. When we get married, it costs 5,000 rupees. And when we die, it costs 2,000 rupees. You need to think about this.
3 individuals were killed in a motor accident that occurred on the Mahiyangana-Randanigala main road.
The accident took place in the 2nd milepost area in the Morayaya Handaganawa area, which comes under the purview of the Hasalaka Police Division. The accident took place when a tipper carrying sand which was heading towards Randanigala collided with a 3-wheeler heading towards Mahiyangana. One individual travelling on the three-wheeler died on the spot. Two others who were also passengers in the three-wheeler succumbed to the injuries upon admission to the hospital. Two of the deceased are police officers. 36-year-old Chandana Pushpakumara Ratnayaka was an officer attached to the Mahiyangane police and a father of two. 39-year-old Vasantanandana Kulasiri was another victim who died in the accident. A father of two, Vasanta was attached to the Jaffna police. The driver of the three-wheeler, 40-year-old P. Jayatilaka, also died in the accident. Jayatilaka was a father of three. The deceased are residents of the 5th milepost area in Morayaya, Handaganawa. The driver of the tipper truck has been arrested in connection to the accident. Meanwhile, a 12-year-old child died in a motor accident that took place in the Gurudeni area in Kandy. The accident took place when a van collided head-on with a tipper truck. The passengers in the van had been returning home following a trip to India. 4 individuals suffered injuries and are currently receiving treatment at the Colombo National Hospital.
On to our developing story tonight, which the News First International Desk has been following. With international military intervention limited or otherwise in Syria hanging in the balance, President Bashar al-Assad has said that he would confront external aggression.
Syrian state TV quoted Assad as saying that American threats of launching an attack against Syria will not discourage Syria from its principles or its fight against terrorism.
Meanwhile, the latest update coming in on the Syrian front is that NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen has said that he has seen evidence convincing him that the Syrian authorities were behind a deadly chemical weapon attack, and said it would send a dangerous signal to dictators if the world does not respond firmly.
Syria generally refers to rebels fighting to topple Assad as terrorists. Assad's comments follow close on the heels of a statement from US Secretary of State John Kerry that the US has evidence that the chemical nerve agent sarin was used in an attack on a Damascus suburb seen as a rebel stronghold on the 21st of August, which the US claims killed over 1,400 people. Speaking on US television, Kerry encouraged his former colleagues in Congress not to turn their backs on the credibility of the US.
And I don't believe that my former colleagues in the United States Senate and the House will turn their backs on all of our interests, on the credibility of our country, on the norms with respect to the enforcement of the prohibition against the use of chemical weapons, which has been in place since 1925.
Meanwhile, the Arab League held a meeting of foreign ministers of its member states at its headquarters in Cairo, Egypt yesterday, calling on the United Nations to take decisive measures against the Syrian government for its alleged use of chemical weapons against civilians. In a press conference prior to the meeting, Saudi Foreign Minister Saud al-Faisal said Saudi Arabia would back a US strike if the Syrian people did. Our stance is that we support the will of the Syrian people. They know their best interest and know what is needed with regards to their internal situations. So whatever they accept, we accept. And whatever they refuse, we refuse. Residents in the Syrian capital of Damascus gathered outside the US embassy last afternoon to voice their strong opposition against any possible US military action. Protesters waved pictures of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and chanted slogans such as "We oppose military intervention" and "We don't fear Obama." Meanwhile, Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said in Tehran during an interview yesterday that any foreign military intervention against Syrians would imperil the entire region's safety.
There is no military solution for this crisis. We have to find a political solution, and we hope that both the government and Congress in the US would consider the case very carefully, would consider the consequences of any military intervention in Syria.
Obama has now left the decision on whether to intervene in Syria in the hands of the US Congress, a deeply divided House. After members of Congress met with US President Barack Obama's national security team yesterday, many left with mixed feelings about possible intervention in the Syria crisis.
I'm still very skeptical about the president's proposal. It is not clear to me that we know what the results of this attack will be, meaning will it be effective? It's not clear to me what response might be undertaken by Iran, by the Syrians, against Israel, against us in the realm of terrorism.
Certainly the mood at the district that I represent is do not do this, and I honestly didn't hear anything that told me I ought to have a different position.
The full House is expected to take up the issue in the week of September 9th.